Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Be Unbound podcast. I am your host, David Rethemeyer, joined as always by my co-host, Abraham Chen. This is an episode of Conversations where we are joined by some special guests who bring a unique perspective into some of our Unbound topics. Abe, I am very excited to be joined by some people who are, I think, members of the Unbound family around here at this point. Tell us a little bit about Mr. and Mrs. Elliott.
100%. I love how you brought up the Unbound family, the extended community. Well, David, have you ever been in the light of a burning Christmas tree?
No. I tend to try to make sure that all of the Christmas trees that I am around are not on fire. I feel like that would be a safety hazard. Why do you ask?
Yes. Once again, we're keeping these, right? Genuine reactions from David. This is one of the first memories I've had with Mr. and Mrs. Elliott. I had the huge privilege to be at their house filming actually way earlier this year, and they had their Christmas tree lying around. They have a tradition of burning it, massive flame shooting way high into the sky. And It was around this fire and before that they got to tell me and other staff members there a lot of the stories of their time as missionaries in Haiti, a lot of their just lessons that they've learned doing all sorts of things, being able to work together as a couple in photography. And once again, you'll hear this in the episode with Mr. Elliott. He is amazingly talented, does so many different things. So yeah, hopefully this is a little glimpse of all the stories that we got to hear that day and some of the continuation as well.
Yeah. Well, I can't promise that there will be any burning Christmas trees this episode, but I think that I am pretty safe in promising an excellent conversation with some really, really cool people. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the episode.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, welcome to this show. Very glad that you are on joining us to really talk about a lot of the things you guys do. We've been blessed and privileged to talk to a lot of the speakers this year at Apex. But this is our first time talking to someone who is a little bit more behind the scenes in many different ways. You were able to help with the camp as well as take pictures, as well as just be a parent at Apex and have that perspective. So very, very excited to dive into what you guys do and some of your perspectives on all this. So let's start with this. Tell us a little bit about your ministry. You guys were missionaries in Haiti for several years, and you guys continue your photography business here in the States. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we started, Haiti began, Kari had first gone to Mexico on a mission trip and came back and was really kind of had her heart broken for missions and it was all she could talk about. And I didn't really understand that. And so we were kind of on different pages for a good while. And I was praying about it in my devotions one day and told the Lord that was really a problem that we were on different pages about missions, because I just distinctly remember her telling her, you do not have to cross an ocean or a border. If you want to be on mission, I said, the next door neighbor doesn't know Jesus, go make her some spaghetti. And I just didn't get it. And so I was having a devotion and praying and just talking to God about that and asking him, what do I got to do to get on the same page? I'll do whatever. We got to be on the same page. And literally got finished praying, and a missionary called me and asked me if I would go to Haiti to photograph children for their education. And I just said, yeah, sure. I didn't even need to. And she just was, oh, great. That's awesome. And I got off the phone, and our studio was built with our home attached. So I literally got off the phone, got out of my chair, walked into our house and said, well, I'm going to Haiti. And Kari was just like, what? So
yeah, very much.
And that's pretty much how it began. Is I went to Haiti, and the earthquake had happened right before we
in 2010
flew in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And we were not the first in, but we were later on, a little after that, and there was just still a lot of chaos in Haiti. And I saw a lot of that chaos, and basically God just wrecked me, and started reevaluating life and what were we doing. And so then after that, Kari came with me on another trip right after that. And then the kids came down after that and stayed a month in Haiti. And I was, this whole time, I wasn't on with actual mission teams. I would fly down with mission teams, but then me and another Haitian man would just go down these trails together and looking for kids. And they had all been displaced because of the earthquake. Mm-hmm. And so that's just really gave me just a very different perspective of missions. And I really got to know the people. And so when the kids came, we could just realize that they had no Bibles. That was one of the things that we were just understanding that, there's been all of these missions to Haiti, but nowhere did we find anyone that had any Bibles. And so we started to ask.
It's the number one thing we were asked for as we were walking the trails and taking sponsorship photos for children. We would be asked for Bibles and above everything else. So we're like, well, sure, we'll get Bibles. We had no idea where to find them or anything. But so that's kind of what sparked the Mission Bible. We started Mission Bibles for Haiti and really never thought that we would be the ones in Haiti. But we found it was very difficult to get Bibles and transport them and get them into the country. And so somebody asked us, well, what's preventing you from doing that? And basically we said, we have this studio that we need to pay for and we can't just leave. And so we talked and prayed about selling the studio, which we had built and designed for our purposes, and that would be there forever. Our realtor said, you'll never sell it. It's designed for you. You have your house built onto it. And honestly, we had it sold within, 6 weeks. And we were in Haiti at the end of, or fall of 2011. So and that's, that's what brought us to Haiti, I guess.
So that was our work in Haiti was, we worked with pastors and just local churches, and getting Bibles to their people. And, one of the first things, you get arrows. There's always arrows from without, but from the outside. But then when it's from within, it hurts always more. And we had a missionary that was down there, asked me what I was doing there. And I said to bring Bibles. And I just clearly remember him asking me if I was an idiot. And he said, they can't read. He said, they can't read. Why would you bring Bibles? They're illiterate. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. And
he was a very nice man, actually. So that's the harsh part.
But what he didn't know is the missionary that was there before me for 12, 15 years, she had felt called by God to go down and start schools and start teaching kids how to read and write. And so there was the entire southern peninsula there is very literate. And so it's not at all an illiteracy problem. And so God used that, and that was a great blessing to just see how he uses the hands and feet. And it's not just, the hand doesn't know what the nose is doing. It doesn't know what the ear is doing either. But together God works and knits us together to do great things that we couldn't possibly understand on our own.
Well, that is super cool to hear how you guys got involved there. How long did you guys end up staying down in Haiti? I'm curious.
About 4.5 years we were in Haiti, and we did come back in the summer months because we were mostly self-funded. And so we had weddings booked and photo shoots and things like that. And so we worked very, very hard from like January through August or whenever our last wedding that we had booked. And then we'd come back to Haiti with whatever we had made for that year. And we would pray it was enough. And it always was. And we were thankful that we did build the studio because the little bit of capital we had gained did fund like our first year in Haiti. And so God just provided in crazy, amazing ways for us to be down there for
That is super cool. So I guess the thing that I'm wondering with that is that, especially when you're down there for an extended period of time, like you guys were, how did your perspectives change when you came back to the States from being down there in Haiti? What would have been your mindset change?
That's a
that's a bomb, actually.
That's a can of worms.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's why we're on a podcast. Let's go.
Our perspective pretty much on everything changed. So it really, we talked about that. It really affected the course of not just our lives, but of our kids' lives. And I think even of their future, of our future grandchildren's lives. It's just changed so much of the way that we viewed even Christianity, the way that we viewed the Western church, the way that we view rich versus poor is just entirely fundamentally different when you're in a country. There are so many lessons, I guess, that we learned being immersed in the culture and knowing the people. The happiest, most joyful people that I've ever met were the people who had the least. But they were literally full of joy because of the Lord. And, some of the best worship that I've ever had in my life was in a hut, and there was no instruments. There was no microphones. There was no screen. There was no lighting. There were only hands for people to use to clap together. Mm-hmm. And the Holy Spirit was there. And so, it just it basically flipped everything inside out and upside down for us. It was hard for us coming back, hearing churches that were having, wanting to have mission funds for
rovers and
or coming back in a church's, they're having a big rally to pave their parking lot, and it's only going to be $50,000, and you're just, wow. And you've come from living in that kind of culture, you're just thinking, what do we really need that?
Yeah. And, when you're praying fervently for somebody to, just for the funds to be able to have some medical operation or a roof on their home because the hurricane just destroyed it. And there is no insurance. There is no backup. They're literally just having flooding, torrential rains pour into their home, or, their light is kerosene lanterns in their home, and all around the concrete walls or thatch, whatever their walls are, it's just soot, and little kids have soot in their nostrils. And it's just, you just have a very different view of everything. And I think even academically, or studying theology, I think we elevate that a lot in the Western church, and it's all good. I think that's great to just study God's word. And but some of the strongest Christians we met knew very little, maybe academic theology, but their faith was so amazing, and they had the fruit of the Spirit pouring out in their lives, into their communities, and definitely into us. Like, I felt like we were the recipient far more than any giver of anything in Haiti, I guess. Mm. So everything, our whole perspective on life changed dramatically as we went to Haiti.
And even our faith, you start to really question, like, okay, so how much of what I knew was just really prosperity driven? How many would people back home in the States be able to go through what these people just went through, lose everything in a hurricane, get up the next morning and say, well, God knows everything, we love the Lord? Or would they just be wrecked? And, if there was the same kind of persecution that they had, would they be able to have that same kind of fortitude? And it really started making us, we really began to just question our own faith and our own, the depth of our own faith.
Our foundation. And
what's our foundation?
I would say even evil. We talk about evil, but I think in a lot of countries, not in the Western world, or, they just don't see evil the same as, certainly they do in Haiti. Voodoo is a religion in Haiti that is very common, and and it's everything changed. So that's probably a very long answer.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. We could go on and on about that. I'm sorry.
Well, no need to apologize. We've had a couple of different missionaries on the show, and I love hearing the answers to questions like that, and just getting a totally different perspective that is outside of your comfort zone and what you know can just be so incredibly valuable. So
I
really
do think this is really interesting and something that we didn't expect. People like our family were thinking, well, how it's going to be so difficult to live in Haiti and all of that, which we knew we were going into before we moved there because we had been there 3 times. But moving back after living in Haiti was by far a harder transition than ever moving to Haiti. But yeah, so moving back it took us, we're still recuperating. And it's been 6 years. So yeah, it definitely took us a few years to get our feet under us. So unexpected, but yeah.
And, a big thing too is the hunger for Christ was just so different. We were asked to go to a university there and just share Christ. And nobody's ever asked us to go to a college university here and just share Christ, and it's just like, but they did. They said, can you come and just share Jesus? And we said, sure, we can. And we went, and literally they stopped their classes. The rooms were packed.
Yeah.
Standing room only.
Out.
And we got to give the gospel in a university. And then we were singing songs together. Like we were singing Amazing Grace and the history behind the song of Amazing Grace in Haiti. If you just think about that alone and I'm just thinking, what do we really understand of freedom? Because I don't have the same freedom to go and do this in America. There would be so many, so many flags, so many gates to go through to go and share the gospel and worship Christ in the same way that I just did in this school. Things like that, little things like that just you spend the rest of your life wrestling with. Like, how do I marry that back with this culture that I live in now? That's one of the things we did when we came back to America. We had a really hard time because when we came back from America, we had been having church in a hut, and that's how we got used to having church that way. So when we came back, it was just really hard for us to find a church again, to just to not be distracted by lights and the production of church again was really hard. And so we got really excited. Hey, we spent all this time in Haiti. You wouldn't go in your house in Haiti until the sun went down because it was too hot to be in your home. So you stayed outside with the community, and there was community happening because you were outside. And, then we come back to America and people come home from work. The garage doors comes up, people drive in, the garage door comes down, and that's it. There's no, like, I live next to 10,000 people, but I might know 10 on my street here, and it's so different. So we, when we came back to America, one of the first things that we wanted to do was start a home church. And, we just thought, well, hey, what if we had a church on every street instead of a big building that needs all this funding and all, parking lots and, what if we just had a church on every street and it was in everyone's home? What if we did that? And we thought, well, we'll just make people, some cookies and we'll go down the street here and just tell people, hey, we're going to start having church at our house every Sunday. And that was so poorly received. It was like,
who are these people?
Yeah, they were looking at us like I'm looking at my wife, like, it's like we're drug dealers or something. And like, my kids are giving you cookies. It's not like I'm trying to sell you crack cocaine. I'm just saying we're going to have church on the corner in our house and you're welcome to come. And people would be like, you're crazy. Yeah. And just kind of marrying that again when you come back. This is my culture. These are my people.
Yeah.
It's been hard for us ever since to deal with that. We're still trying to figure that out, I guess. Yeah. So
Oh, yeah, I think that perspective is just so invaluable. And, I think, shifting to present day, we have really appreciated here in the Unbound community having you guys offering some fresh perspectives, as well. And so wanted to get a little bit of the background on how you guys ended up, learning about Unbound and becoming involved with the Unbound and the Unbound community.
Okay. Yeah, that would probably be, that's a great story because our daughter graduated in, I don't even know what year, in 2021. I don't even know what year she graduated. Well, she was not college bound. She didn't really know what she wanted to do with her life. And so we did a classical ed conference in Dallas, and that was really fun. And then she realized, like, oh, if I'm going to be in education, I'm going to need a degree. I should be formally educated. So we started talking about that, and our pastor did College Plus several years ago. And we were talking to him. He was trying to remember when he graduated. I think 2009. I don't know. It was a long time ago. Anyway, he said, check it out. And he introduced us to some people that had maybe more recently gone through College Plus. I don't know if it was Unbound yet or not, but we called and got online and of course, peruse everything. I am kind of a research nut. And so I read literally probably every word on the website. Abby, our daughter, made the phone call and had a delightful conversation with staff there. And yeah, I mean, honestly, and she had talked to some other people and she's like, no, this is not what I want to do. I'm not going to spend all this money and all this time to go down that road. And she spoke with people in Unbound and she's like, this is good. I want to fast track my education. And she didn't really know what she was getting into either. She just knew she could do it from home. She could still work and she could get educated and, have a path. So that's how we got introed into Unbound. But it wasn't until 2021 Apex when she went and I remember she texted me like the very first day and said, I have found my people. I love it. This is great. And I'm like, you haven't even started. She's like, oh, I know, but this is it. So I'm like, okay. So she had a great time at Apex. It was phenomenal. The speakers were phenomenal. She made some great friends and she had just never experienced a community that was so intentional in what they were doing in higher education. And so, I think. And
that was one of the big things to us is when, she came back and was like, these are my people. This is my tribe. And we're like, yeah, okay, honey, that's great. But then she had like a notebook just filled with everything. And she was like, you're going to sit and I want to tell you everything that happened. And we just saw that she was really just lit up. Yeah. Lit up over that. And she hadn't had that before. Mm-hmm. In fact, she had a hard time with community too, coming back from Haiti. Youth groups, she would try to plug into youth groups and, nothing against, I don't want to sound harsh towards Western culture, but it's just the youth groups were it was so shallow, like 5 miles wide and half inch deep. And she wanted to just really dive in and she had a hard time finding real community, people that really wanted to get to invest in one another in her relationships. And so when she came back from Unbound and she had that that fire in her.
Well, and she told us, she's like, you guys have got to get involved. Yeah. And because, being in a homeschool community, I was very involved in her high school years, obviously, and everything, and in community. And she's like, you'd love it. You got to get involved. And she's totally right on. She knows me well. So, and I do. I love it.
Hey everyone, David here with a brief break in the conversation. Just wanted to make sure to let you guys know about a new program that is open for enrollment with Unbound. A lot of you are probably already familiar with Unbound's Ascend program, which is our higher education alternative that uses project-based education to prepare young adults for the real world, all while earning college credit. Well, if you are interested in an option that maybe isn't quite the full year just yet, but if you want something that is just over the spring semester, Well, we have the perfect product for you. We have Ascend Semester, which is open for enrollment right now. It is a 16-week program that starts in January that gives a lot of the same amazing benefits as the full Ascend program. You get to join an Ascend team, you get to work on a project, you get to come to our really, really fun base camp event, which is held down in Florida in January, and a ton more amazing stuff that is all packed into this program. So if you would like to learn more about it, visit beunbound.us/semester. Link is in the show notes down below as well, and make sure to check it out. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah, no, I love that perspective. We are extremely blessed as a community, as a team, that you guys have come on and helped us with, again, getting perspective, whether it's serving at Apex or even just helping with the marketing team, talking to parents. I want to shift gears a little bit, where it's been a joy learning from both of you. Mr. and Mrs. Elliott are some of the most versatile, talented people I know. If that wasn't clear in the intro, you guys, they are amazing photographers, and have just a huge range of skills, from building amazing desks. I found out the other day, apparently, Mr. Elliott, you dye hair and do hair stuff. So
he does.
My question is, what are some of the keys to picking up almost any skill that you've learned, whether on the mission field, back here in the States, through photography, all these things?
Well, for me, I'll just speak for me. I think that with anything, you've got to be willing to grow, and you've got to be willing to adapt. In the homeschool community, you even see when someone gets their own hunger for education, when they get their own appetite for education, you basically just have to let go and stand back, and they'll charge in all on their own. You don't have to push and prod. You have to have that same attitude as you approach anything in life, and especially in our industry and with photography, videography, it's constantly changing. If you don't change, I always tell Kari, you don't change, you're going to die. It's just, you either are going to grow and adapt, or you're going to be left behind. And you've got to be willing to just go. It's not like you've got to learn it all in one day. You learn one new thing a day. You keep doing that every day, and before you know it, a month has passed, and you've got just this whole vast amount of knowledge that you never had before. And I just think that that's how you've got to look at everything. You've got to be willing to know where you put your trust. You've got to realize, there's that great verse that I can do all things through him who gives me strength. And you have to remember that when you approach anything in life, not just on a spiritual level where you're, how do I learn forgiveness, Lord? I can do all things. It can be something as simple as, how do I learn this new camera? Well, I can do all things through him who gives me strength. Lord, can you help me learn this new camera? Can you give me the attitude, the fortitude, the desire? Because even if you don't have the desire, you can pray for the desire and you can have it. And I think that's what I've done in life. There's a poem I wrote a long time ago, and there's very few people that have really appreciated it. I've always appreciated it. But it says, "Death to the can of any one man who says that he cannot, and death to the not of any cannot, when so says a man that he can." And to me, when you look at that, if you think about that,
it visually, it makes more sense too.
You have to see it visually. But basically,
David's
when you crucify that can't in your life, when you quit looking at everything and say, I can't, because if you say that in life, you never will. You'll never have the desire. You'll never have the gumption inside of you to pursue new things that seem out of reach. But if you look at everything and instead say, yes, I can do that. I can try that. I will try that. It's the same as when you say, I will yet praise you, Lord. Sometimes you have to tell yourself, I will yet do this. I'm going to learn this. And when you have that attitude in life, I think you can be unstoppable. So I'm done.
No, that's good. That's good. I know my answer is probably more practical, and it's probably very cliche.
I get this little flash from her, like, you are going way too long on this. And it's just, it happens like this. and it's over.
This is how we communicate during photo shoots, by the way.
Yeah.
So we definitely know what we're saying. Anyway, and this is probably very cliche, but we learned pretty much everything that we know from, doing and teaching. And often when I've done a lot of teaching and often know very little about what I'm teaching about, but in that prep work and in lots of prayer and all of that, I learn so much myself as I'm teaching. And so, as a homeschool mom and as somebody who was a director in classical conversations and directed some plays and learning photography from him, I don't know. You learn by doing and teaching, and that's I don't know.
Yeah,
it's kind of the brass tacks of how to learn new stuff. So, and give yourself patience. Like, we're 47. We've learned a lot, but we're older than these youngsters and
not old.
Older. We're older.
No.
So, be patient and keep learning.
That is all great advice, and it sounds like it very much mirrors a lot of what we talk about with Unbound and learning by doing and learning from failure. So love hearing that from you guys as well. One thing that I was curious about is that we just got a little bit of a picture of the two of you working together in photo shoots, and so the two of you have a background in working in photography and videography together. Give us a little bit of the background of like how the two of you got into that together and some of the things that you've learned along the way.
Go ahead.
Well, just a quick note, when Dan bought his first digital camera, maybe 20 years ago.
More than that.
I don't know. Anyway, I literally told him, what in the world are you going to do with that? You need to take it back. And eventually he did, because he was not satisfied with the digital camera 20 some years ago. But had no idea where this was going to go, but he's always had a passion for photography. I did not. I've learned the passion through him and seeing what he does, with all of that. And so our business grew. Basically, it's been such a blessing for us because, we were both in the corporate world, and we really just wanted to raise our kids differently, because we were gone all the time. 70 plus hours a week. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. And so we made some decisions early on when we started having kids that I left my job first, and literally within 11 months, he left his job and we were completely self-employed. Now, we did think that we were not going to make our mortgage most months, yet we always did. So those of you considering like big, high risk financial things about venturing out on your own, yep, we did it. And
it never made sense on paper.
I'm crunching all the numbers and got all my spreadsheets, and literally we're in the hole every single time. And then they booked us a wedding and they just sent us a check and wanted to pay for everything in full, even though their wedding is 9 months down the road. And we're like, what? But we were so fervently praying, and we saw our faith just grew like crazy. And God supplied and provided for us in numerous ways. And I was a new Christian, so this was just like mind blowing to me that we were praying and God is hearing and answering. So that's, anyway, fast forward a lot of years, we, as far as we working together, Dan's like the main shooter. I do shoot. He's taught me a lot. He does, but we love working together. We have two very different perspectives of when we shoot, and he's big picture, landscape, light, and I'm composition, detail. And so I think having a man and a woman's perspective and bringing it together in photography is really beautiful, especially when you photograph weddings and families. And I guess it all just kind of goes together, but we love it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We love it. It's been a blessing for our family.
We knew early on, when our kids were very little, we just, we knew, especially when the photography started, it went from having this corporate job and it was 70 hours a week to then I'm doing photography on top of that. And we were getting
Yeah, we never saw him actually. And Logan doesn't remember this, our son, who's now 23, but he was not around.
It was over 90-hour work weeks, and it was the kids were constantly at that point in daycare, and we just really stopped and said, look, this isn't how we want to do life. We don't want to have someone else raise our children. We want to do this differently. So we want to be around for our kids. We love working together. We knew that already, that we really enjoy working together. So we just said, how do we do this where we can be together? And that's when, when Kari came home, she started to we realized how many phone calls we were missing, which was a lot more. And we were already really busy with photography.
Yeah, this was before all of the technology that we have today.
Yeah, we were just, people just weren't leaving messages. They just would hang up. And so she was home and got those calls, and we were able to come home and really start fleshing that out. Like, what's this look like? We want to be here with our kids now while they're young, and raise them differently than these parents that are totally checked out and gone and working all these hours, and someone else is raising their kids and someone else is teaching their kids. And then we retire and our kids are gone and we really don't know them and they don't really know us. And then our health just tanks and, well, there we go. That was life. We didn't want to do that. We just wanted to do it opposite. So we've basically kind of done it backwards. We'll probably be working at Walmart.
Yep. Until we're 90 because
we'll probably be the greeters at Walmart, like just trying to make enough to get some ramen noodles or something.
But
I don't know. But we've definitely, because we chose that lifestyle, we got to experience Haiti together as a family. And that basically, I think, has been the greatest course change in our entire lives. And there's living together in Haiti and going through that experience. And so we're so blessed and so grateful to be able to have done that and had that decision. So I'll take it. I'll work at Walmart. I'll say hello to people. All these young kids that have no idea who that old man is.
We'll do that.
I'll be that guy.
Good.
Whatever.
We'll have a blast too.
There you go. That's super cool. And I really just think it's super cool to see just like the two of you are working so closely together, and that the two of you like just enjoy working together so much. And that's not something that, I mean, you'll see it sometimes in family businesses, but it's not something that you'll see super often, especially in businesses kind of like photography. How have you guys navigated just like working together as a couple, and what are some ways that you found to kind of make that as effective and enjoyable as you can?
Prayer. Lots and lots of prayer.
Forgiveness. Lots and lots of forgiveness. Because it's kind of like, when you start homeschooling your kids, like all of your uglies come out and all of their ugly, and you're just confronted with it all. And especially as a married couple, we've been asked this hundreds of times, like, how can you possibly work with your husband? Like, I could never do that, and I'm just thinking that's really sad to me, but not that it's easy. Honestly, we're so different. We are
very different. We think very different.
Yeah. We desire different things.
Let alone the difference in just a man and a woman, but we're also very culturally different. I grew up in Wyoming. She grew up what I would call a city girl. You would not, Abraham.
Probably not.
But I would call she grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She was as city could get to me. And we just have very different perspectives on everything. So
especially since you taught me how to shoot. Like when I see something and he's not doing what I see, I'm like, what are you doing? Let's do this. He's like, no, not yet.
Or I see her shooting and she's moving as she's shooting, and I'm going,
oh, that's not going to be in focus.
No. So there, actually, before we go into any shoot, we pray with one another, and that's every shoot that we've ever done. We make sure we stop and pray before we go into it. So, and that's really important. It centers us, because Kari knows me. I get a lot of anxiety before a shoot. I go through the roof with anxiety, even today. And all these years later, it's like, it's going to be okay. I know that, but I still going into it. You want it so bad for the people that you're shooting. You want it to be so good for them that your anxiety goes through the roof. And she's always the one that's like bringing me back to center. Let's pray. Let's remember who is first and why we're doing this, and give God the glory and represent him well. That kind of, and that always refocuses us. And that's, I think, how we've gotten
Well,
through
and
all
I think
these years.
our goal is we just want to be a blessing to whoever we're photographing, and we want to glorify God in whatever we're doing. And if that ends up with not being the most fantastic pictures ever, then so be it, if those other things are satisfied. And so I think that helps calm anxiety, where it becomes not all about the perfect photo or video or whatever we're doing. But yeah, that helps. And we balance each other out. When I'm freaking out, then he's like, okay, everything's gonna be okay. Because I'm like, my camera is not working.
The other great thing about that too is, so you're working with your spouse.
Yeah.
They know you like nobody else on the planet knows you, right? So like we were at a wedding last January, and I broke my camera. My camera was on a fail-safe, rig, and was the kind that's never ever supposed to come off, and it came off and fell right on the brick and busted my transmitter, busted my camera, busted my lens.
And we're doing photo and video.
We're doing photo and video that day.
Yeah.
And I gave her a look, and she knew immediately, like in that flash, like there's something majorly wrong.
I had no idea how bad it was. And so I just went over and started working with our couple.
She just started working directly with our bride and groom while I'm trying to scramble, like, okay, I'm the kind of guy that will bring 4 cameras to every wedding. I bring the backup and the backup and the backup of that just in case.
Praise God.
And on that day, we were using literally every backup that I had.
Yeah, we've never done that before.
And our bride and groom never knew it.
Never knew a thing. Yeah.
We had a wonderful day with them. We captured their day beautifully. They got great photo, great video. They still recommend us to people. And
and we praise God for that, because we're like, okay, that was totally covered in prayer.
Yeah, that was like, Lord, what am I going to do? And that's one thing I can't imagine doing that with, working with someone else that isn't my wife in that moment, because I don't think anyone else would understand, what I'm going through at that point, or be able to make it so seamless for the client, so that they could still just enjoy their day.
100%. Well, hopefully that couple is not listening to this podcast. The only time I will ever say that.
They are a sweet couple. They would understand.
They would.
They would.
Yes. But with that, one of the I love meeting Unbound parents, as so often, getting to know other Unbounders. It's like there's such as you mentioned before, there's a certain community and camaraderie with how we look at the world, how we want to serve the Lord. And more often than not, that means there is a very Unbound set of parents behind them, allowing them to grow and have that perspective. So we're extremely grateful for that. That being said, we're blessed to have both of you helping out the marketing team, talking to parents and talking with just new students and new families. What are some of the perspectives that you wish parents had as they explore Unbound? For you guys being part of the community a little bit more now, what would you want people to understand?
One of the things that I wish the parents could see is all the parents. I know that sounds really weird, but just in the calls that Kari and I have been on, we've had so many blessed phone calls with these parents that are just even interested in Unbound. And every time we get off with them, I have not had one conversation with any of these parents where I got off thinking, oh, they didn't appreciate that, or that wasn't any fun, or, every single one of them, I get off thinking, I think I just spoke to the remnant. Like, I think I just spoke to God's people that he's raising up for this next generation to fight the fight, And it's like every single time I talk to these parents, that's what we come away with. And you can hear it in their voice. You can hear it in their kids. I wish that they could hear the other parents just asking these questions. Obviously the other thing to me is I wish they could experience what we experienced at Apex. When we got to visit and see, I know it sounds snobby, and I'm sorry, I thought my daughter was the only girl like her on the planet. I didn't think there was another girl like Abby. And I know dads say that all the time. Well, with me, it was true. But,
Right.
And then I went to Apex, and all this time Abby's been, you just got to meet these people. You won't understand until you meet them. And I'm like, sure, honey. Okay. She just doesn't understand. There's nobody like her. She doesn't understand. When she's sad, it rains.
You can obviously tell she's daddy's little girl. And she's the baby.
But then my point is getting to go to Apex and suddenly you realize like, oh, there's like 20 other girls that are just as sweet and beautiful and loving as my daughter and love the Lord as much as my daughter and want to serve him and make and share him. And just getting to see the caliber of the kids that we got to meet there. And it was just really beautiful to see that and encouraging, hopeful, especially, I mean, you know, we've had a lot of wrestles coming back from the missions world. And, you know, I think missions is very broken in a lot of ways, but that's another podcast. It's another podcast, but seeing these kids, it really gives you a lot of hope for where God is taking us and what he has in store for us. And I think Unbound is going to be a big part of that. So.
Yeah. Well, and I used to be somewhat apprehensive of higher education. I think, you know, coming from a homeschool community and especially being very active in that, in a teaching capacity, I talk with lots of families, new families coming into homeschooling and other families that are getting ready to launch their kids. And you're just like, what's next? You know, and we just spent 18 years raising up these kids and praying over our kids, their lives. And now it's like you're tossing them out to the wolves and you don't know what that looks like. And you just pray more over them. And our son went to state school. And that was a fine experience. You know, I'm not going to, talk negatively about state schools or anything like that. I went to the same college. So like I knew what he was going to get there. I did not realize what else there was, I guess. And I did not know there was an alternative to higher education. And that's what I would want to tell other parents is that there is an alternative to a regular state school or private school that looks and feels very different than what they might have experienced in college. And I guess when I think of Unbound, and obviously with anything, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. But if you have a student going into Unbound that just has good, rich soil, you know, they want, even if they have no idea what they want to do with their life, but which most kids have no idea what they want to do with their life. But they have a desire to listen, to learn, to grow, to meet people, to try new things, to fail, all that stuff. Unbound is such a powerful community for that kind of soil. And because it'll bring the water and the sunshine, and God is going to do amazing things and make that young student grow spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and bring them around a solid community to do all that in. I mean, so it's really rich.
It's something that, you know, we believe so much in it. We're trying to get our son to possibly reconsider just doing something with Unbound, because I just know he would flourish there. And honestly, it's because of the community. That's probably the number one thing that parents wish they could feel and understand. And, you know, we saw that because we were there at Apex, and we saw it because when Abby did her project, just the way that her team came around in the community to support her and encourage her and do her, even pray with her as she was going through the hard parts of her community project. But I just wish parents could see that, because that's the community part was like the key piece that we learned as missionaries in Haiti. Community is everything. We've lost that in America. We've really lost community. I don't know my neighbors as well as I would love to know my neighbors. I don't think they want to know me that well. You know, that's part of America.
Maybe because you knocked on their door and tried to give them cookies.
I know. It might be.
Invite them to cheese.
But community is so valuable, and I think if we could just learn that again as a culture, I wish the parents could see that, because I've seen the way Abby has had that community, and I know how much my son would flourish in that community.
And all these other students, we just know, when you're given good community.
And it's really, you know, it really focuses around Christ. It's, you know, when you hold one another in the highest regard. That's a verse that our family camped on a long time ago, just for, you know.
For like 3 years.
3 years. Yeah. A long time. It's like, if we could just learn this and nothing else will be okay, you know, but hold them in the highest regard. And that's what I see that, that Unbound does very well in community.
Yeah. Despite differences, I mean, all kinds of differences.
Yeah, I mean, it's every walk, it's every race, it's every culture. I mean, they're from everywhere, right? It's like it's completely. I was telling to Kari the other night. It's like you think of a beautiful flower, and it thinks it's the only beautiful flower that there is. It's all alone. Woe is me, right? But it doesn't realize that the seeds that have been scattering from it all this time, over all this season, and there's all these different patches of beautiful flowers everywhere because of this flower, and it just doesn't know it, and that's like when I look at Unbound, that's what I see. I see these people from all over the country, very diverse. I mean, we talk to people in Arizona, we talk to people in Texas, we talk to people in California on the East Coast, and it's like, and here's God's seed, and he's just going, right? And it's just boom, all over the country, all over the world. And it's going to be for his glory, holding one another in the highest. And it's a beautiful thing to witness. Yeah.
And it affects the parents too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy cool, I think. I mean, I don't know how many college experiences where the parents are receiving blessing and joy and goodness and, encouragement. And so it just scatters, so it's good.
Well, hopefully
I don't know if that's it.
You can't take the poo is mine. That's my
well, I think that there is a very, very real possibility that there are some potential future Unbound parents who are listening to this episode, and I would highly encourage you, if that is the case, first of all, if you would like to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, then you should book an admissions appointment, and we can set that up, because we would absolutely love to set that up. And as you have heard over the course of this conversation, they are an absolute pleasure to talk with. So thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode. Before we wrap up, in addition to plugging the fact that Unbound parents can have calls with you, I wanted to just give you guys the opportunity to shout out where people can look at your photography work and your website if they'd like to check that out.
Okay. Yeah, it's just danelliottphotography.com. So it's DANELLIOTT photography.com. That's where I have everything. So yeah, you're welcome to get on, and we do go all over the country. If you want us to go somewhere and photograph, we just got to pay the mileage, because we can't get there on our own. Sorry.
It will be worth it. Mr. Elliott is an extremely amazing photographer. And I'm saying this on record on the podcast as someone learning videography. Just like, man.
Well, thank you.
Well, we've seen some of your work too, Abe. So
that's right.
Yeah, I don't know. And you're way younger than us. So you got a jump start.
I'm aspiring. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he was not where you are at that age. So take heart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being on. Do check out Mr. Elliott's website, as well as Mr. and Mrs. Elliott's work, video, and photography, all that. We're very glad that you're on. Please do also check out the links below if you want to talk to them. Open invitation. Do it, guys. Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, thank you for being on. Thank you so much. And we'll see you around.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, guys, to you, the listeners, thank you so much for listening. I hope you got a little bit of a glimpse into the extended Unbound community, the Unbound family, once again, of parents who are helping alongside their students just as they continue with the Ascend program. I'm going to flash some pictures right here, right now. If you're listening to this, go check out the YouTube channel where we have the videos for these episodes, where our producer, Michael, shout out to Michael, is showing some shots from Apex by Mr. Elliott. These are amazing pictures. I highly recommend that you check out Mr. Elliott's website down below and let us know what you think.
And if you are a prospective parent of an Ascend student and you would like the opportunity to talk with Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, you can actually schedule an appointment to talk with them about what Ascend looks like from a parent's perspective. So we will have a link down below to where you can schedule a call with them and talk about Ascend. They would love to have a conversation with you. So thank you for joining us for this week's episode. Next week, we are going to be wrapping up the season of talks for this season. We are getting very close to the end of season 5. We only have 3 episodes left after this, but they are all very much worth looking forward to. So make sure to join us next week for a conversation with Jonathan, Jace, and Victoria. Thank you all, as always, for joining us for the Be Unbound podcast. As always, be unbound.